EduTechGuys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Here we go. Hey, welcome to the special edition of the EduTech Guys. I'm Jeff.
I'm David.
And we're here to talk to you about what just happened today, December 14th, 2017, the repeal of the Open Internet Act, of the Net Neutrality, as everyone's panicking about. I'll be honest with you, I really didn't see the big money letting this happen. I didn't see the big players on the web, Amazon, Google, ABC, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, all the big social media boys and girls letting this happen where, we're cutting out a large segment of the population who can't afford if it tears up. But, I'm like you. I'm completely shocked. I mean, I really am. I'm not exactly surprised that, some of the big money players who were supposedly fighting this, that they didn't have as much pull maybe, or I don't know. To me, it's almost as if they didn't quite understand truly the ramifications of possibly what's going to happen. And again, here's one of the things. So just the FCC overturned net neutrality right along party lines. So Republicans said, "Nah, we're doing away with that." And the Democrats said, no, really, we need to keep this in place, and it won. So 3-2. Well, and then the FCC director was the one that made it was 2-2, and the FCC director, Republican, stepped in and voted along party lines and said, okay, I'm going to make the change on this. So you're right. It was a straight down party line.
Well, and the kicker is that it means that now the telcos and the cable companies, all the ISPs out there, will basically be allowed to determine what comes across their pipes.
That's right.
So if they don't like Netflix, or if Netflix is owned by a competing mother company, guess what? You can't get to Netflix now. Or maybe that's part of our premium tier, and you can get there, but it's going to cost you an extra $14.95 a month on top of your Netflix subscription.
Well, and look what this really is. It puts us in an interesting spot. I mean, look at Dish and DirecTV and those that had to make apps for Amazon and iOS, Apple TVs and Rokus and things like that so that they could start to get some of their money back for the programming that they were doing, because people were dropping satellite, going to an ISP, which was open, which means that they can put anything on there, pay that $6 for DirecTV or whatever it is a month or whatever it is a year, and start to stream that on demand. And now we're right back to where we started, to where now our ISPs are going to cost us, possibly, I want the full package. That's $189.95 a month,
Right, exactly.
And that's really going to throw people out. And now, it could not happen. I mean, so there's a possibility that we're wrong and that's not what's going to go down. But I just feel like this is all about making money for more people.
Yes.
And you're right. They can now $10 for this package, $15 for this channel. It's just like we did in the old days when everybody moved to Dish, to satellite.
Right.
It's the same thing. My cable company's going to give me 30 channels. I can get 150 channels on this bad boy.
Right.
But if I want HBO, and I want Skinamax and the rest of that stuff.
Right.
But now here's the interesting part that's going to happen to us in education. So what stops an ISP from saying, listen, you're an educational site. We see no need that you need social media. If you want that, you're going to have to pay for it. Well, I'm pretty sure USAC and the FCC are not going to pay for us to get social media. Now, although that the majority of schools and educational entities in this country have moved to their main PR, piece of being social media.
Right.
Then, now that we use that to contact our parents and keep in touch with everyone. But there's the next part. They want to save their bandwidth for their high-end customers. So, listen, your gigabit, you can have a gig, but you're not going to stream YouTube anymore unless you want to pay another blah, blah a month.
Exactly.
Or not at all.
Right.
We just, this new contract that you're going to sign with us states that it's an educational entity and we're not going to give you these things. So, you're going to be whitelisted to... And there's an interesting one, we're monitoring what your traffic, we're monitoring all your traffic, and this is what we deem as educational, and you're using this, and you can provide documentation that says you need Renaissance Learning, or Success Ed, or Edmentum, or Edmodo, or any of the stuff that you're using, Bunsey, whatever it is.
But that's all you're going to get to use.
Yeah, well, and you're talking about a situation where the schools actually have control over their internet access. In Arkansas, we don't have that. So our provider, Department of Information Systems, they're the ones who can decide, guess what? We're providing this internet access to you through E-Rate, which is an FCC-based program, and we're going to limit your access to only state resources. Therefore, you don't get on the internet anymore.
Right.
And you may be out there listening going, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. They wouldn't do that. Yeah, they actually could do that. And I'm sorry, but we've been working with and around and through DIS for many, many, many years.
Many decades.
It would not surprise us in the least if DIS came up and said, nah, we're going to do this. And we're cutting this off and cutting that off and cutting this, and not even offering it as a tiered option. Not even a, hey, well, your district could pay a little extra and get these. No. It's going to be, we're your ISP, and now we control what you have access to, and we say you only have access to state resources. Too bad, so sad. Oh, yeah, and by the way, because we pay for your internet, you're not allowed to have additional internet through E-Rate, so therefore, if you want to get to these other places, you're going to have to buy that directly, and it's going to come out of the school coffers.
Right.
This could be huge.
Huge. Let's take a look at the ramifications to the education of the students and children of the United States. Here's where it gets really interesting. Local county library, public library.
Yeah.
How would that work out if you came in the door and they went, listen, you can only look at these 15 books?
Right. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, then you can't go over here and search in history, and
right.
You can't look in the encyclopedias, and you're not allowed to look anywhere but these 15 books. And that's effectively what the closing down the open net.
Yep.
That's what's actually happening is that, yes, okay, they come to school and we're locked into educational needs, and that's okay. We're educators. We've gotten around other harder things before, and we'll make do, and we'll make it work, and we'll teach them the best we can. But when they go home, if their parents cannot afford that kind of stuff, then they are, once again, welcome to the library. You can read these 15 books.
Right. Well, and one of the counter arguments against all of this is that by doing away with net neutrality, it's going to breed competition. Okay, so in education circles, and again, especially in Arkansas and or anywhere that the state is the one governing access to the internet, they provide that access to the schools. Well, there's no competition there. That's how it is. That's how it's done. In the private sector, I live in a very rural area. I have one provider. You think there's going to be competition for the, 300 people that live out where I live? No, nobody's coming in there.
Nobody.
And even if they did, they would have to piggyback onto the wholesale lines provided by the one provider already in place. And what's that provider going to do on the wholesale side? I mean, which I have no idea. I haven't read what happens at this point. Maybe they don't even know what happens. What happens on the wholesale side?
Right.
Is that side still open, but the actual, whoever's doing the actual retail consumer provisioning, that's how that's decided? Or is it decided because if I'm a certain particular ISP and I'm wholesaling this out to, some local person, guess what? Now it's doubly against the people getting it because the wholesaler gets to restrict it, and then the new ISP retailer gets to restrict what they want to restrict. I mean, holy crap.
I don't see how this is going to provide a viable value. I don't see how this provides value to the American public.
I don't see how either.
It just doesn't provide value to the... I know if it plays out the way that it could, it doesn't provide value to the students of America, to the youth of America.
No.
I mean, this cripples education. Mm-hmm. This cripples art. This cripples music.
Yes.
This cripples video. I mean, it cripples... I mean, how many kids are we having? How many new jobs that didn't exist 3 years ago, 5 years ago, exist now because of the net and because it is wide open?
Right, exactly.
I mean, I tell this story all the time. My dad owns a body shop.
Yeah.
And his numbers, the most people he can sell to are the population in his town. It's a body shop,
Sure.
I'm not fixing your hood over the net.
Right.
But there's the crazy part. How many people in the same town that my dad is in that the sky's the limit?
Right.
the numbers for that his or her that is actually building whatever they're building and
Right.
selling whatever they're selling
Yep.
on the global market has now been completely handicapped. Because there's the next thing that's going to happen. They're going to say, well, you have a business? Well, how much do you think you're going to need every month?
Right.
Because I've got to save this for my higher tier people.
Right.
So if you think you're going to need this much, speed and data, then you're going to have to pay out the nose.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to happen. Yes, we already deal with a lot of them that cap at a certain price range.
Sure.
But they don't block anything.
Right.
But, now we're getting to an interesting thing. I mean, and here's the thing that happens there is, so they're blocking where you can go. Well, they're also blocking who can get to you.
Right. That's exactly right.
I mean, that's going to be a new thing. So, we don't let Uverse come into, ISP 22 and
Right.
ISP 4. I don't want to use any names maybe
Sure,
there,
sure.
but, ISP 1, we don't like ISP 2, so we don't let a lot of their traffic into
Right.
ISP 1.
Exactly.
And, the law says we can do that.
Right. Yes.
And so, I mean, geez.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that this is going to be something that we're going to watch. And you're right. It's not going to go into effect immediately because within the next 3 hours, actually, the moment it was repealed, someone had it in a judge's face, and so that judge at this point will say this is unconstitutional or whatever.
Right. Right.
And it'll stop and it'll sit in the courts for a while.
Right, exactly. There's
So
going
we're
to
not
be
gonna see it, but-
right. There's going to be a stay. There's going to be court battles. There's going to be most likely. I'm assuming it's going to go to the Supreme Court, or we're going to see legislation that comes out, and they're going to take care of it in Congress. Yeah. So, even though this has come out, like you said, it's not going to go into effect right away, and we don't really know the ramifications yet.
And it's gonna. And either way, whatever happens now, though, it's kicked over that barrel of fish.
Sure has.
And we're gonna have to pick up that barrel of fish.
Yep.
And so whatever happens is gonna be just more worry. It's now what's going to happen and how many states courts is it going to be in, and how many state Supreme Courts is it going to be in, and what troubles is it going to cause. And this is going to cost a lot of money and time.
Right.
And it's going to cause a lot of trouble. I mean, it's just a lot of people are going to get involved. And it's going to be just another fight that this country has that it didn't have to have.
Right.
Literally 5 votes.
Yes.
Just it up for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really.
Really, 5 votes just made 400 million people's lives in this country. It's going to be a mess for a while.
Right.
Everybody's going to be talking about it. Everybody's going to have disagreements about it. It's along party lines, and so why would you do that?
Yeah.
With everything else that's going on in this country and this world, why would you get in the way of that?
Yeah. Well, and getting back to the crux of where where our conversation centers is the implications for education. I mean,
It's huge.
We're 2 tech guys. We work with and in school districts, and so this potentially directly impacts what happens to the students that we're supposed to be helping with technology, and now this potential roadblock is going to put a screeching halt to their education.
Hey, let us know what you think about this.
Absolutely.
Reach out to us. Go to the website, www.edutechguys.com. Drop down to the bottom of the page. You can reach us from there. Or just go on Twitter, twitter.com/edutechguys. Hit us up. Hit hashtag ETG chat, or just send it right out to us at EduTechGuys. We'd like to know what you think about this. We'd like to know where you're at on this and how you feel like it will affect you, your family, the education of your family, the education of students in this country, your business, your family's business. This is a far-reaching development, and honestly, I did not see it happening, but now I realize that it's in our line of work. It affects us.
Yeah, it's going to potentially affect
Actually,
us majorly.
it does affect everyone. I mean, it really does.
It really does.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm Jeff.
I'm David.
We'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on this site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.